6'2" freshman, number 4, Isaiah Howell. At forward is 6'3" senior, number 1, Chance Short. At the other forward is 6'2" senior, number 32, Tyler Campbell. And at center is 6'5" freshman, number 33, Van Horn. Coached by Vince Pugh.
Welcome to the Carl York Center here in Proctorville, Ohio, home of the Fairland Dragons, for this OVC matchup between the South Point Pointers and the Fairland Dragons. Coach, I'm here with Coach Chad Belleville, and I'm Adam Alt. Coach, both these teams seem to be out of position to win the conference, but you know as well as I do, this game's important when it comes to like the sectional draw, and I'm sure both these coaches are really looking to solidify a good draw here with this win.
Absolutely. This time of year is all about getting ready for sectional tournament. If your conference dreams are over, you want to try to get yourself on a little bit of a roll, a little momentum going into the tournament, and that's what both teams are trying to establish at this point. South Point gets the toss there, comes out, and turnover immediately, and that's something as a coach you hate to see right off the bat, is turning the ball over. You always want to try to control that.
Absolutely. It's all about taking care of the basketball, getting up shots, getting stops. If you put those together, you're pretty tough to beat. South Point bringing the ball down here. Both these teams played earlier in the year. Fairland did win 45-54, an 11-point victory. So not a very convincing win, not an insurmountable win. So another turnover there by South Point early, not taking care of the basketball. That's 2 on 2 possessions. So let's see if Fairland can capitalize here.
You see Coach Wise down on the bench for South Point, just telling these kids to try to calm down, be patient. When you're on the road, it's always a little bit more difficult, obviously. So you want to try to establish some momentum early. Like you were talking about earlier, you just want to get some shots up, get some good looks early, and just try to take care of the ball to get yourself established into the game.
Seems like early Fairland's being very patient, trying to get the ball inside to their young freshman Van Horn. 3 by number 4 Isaiah Howe, another freshman. Speaking of these freshmen, Coach, watching them this year, what's your feelings on them? I know you had a team here at Fairland very similar, a lot of young talent, and I know you had a lot of maybe wins you shouldn't have got, but you also had a lot of losses you probably shouldn't have had either with that young talent. So.
Nice block right there by Colin Van Horn. To start the break for the Dragons. Trying to finish, he just misses. A great point about playing freshmen and winning games that maybe you shouldn't win and losing some games that you shouldn't lose. That definitely goes into it. It's life as a coach when you're playing a lot of young kids. You try to rely on your seniors, especially early in the season and in clutch situations, and bring those young kids along. But at some point, when you have talent, you just got to let them go play and hope for the best.
Last possession, great take there by Elijah Adams, just couldn't quite convert. Brings up out of bounds under the basket situation for Fairland.
I'll tell you, a key for Fairland right here is going to be number 11, Nathan Campbell. Last couple of games, he's struggled a little bit offensively, and I know he's trying to get himself back on track, and you saw him take the ball to the rim early, and I think that's a huge key for Fairland and for Nathan. If he can get in the lane and get the defense collapse on him, you're going to be able to see him kick, and you saw the kick out go to Isaiah Howe for that 3 early on.
Another turnover for South Point. Fairland bring the ball up.
Looks like South Point's laying off a little bit, trying to play some soft D, force Fairland to hit some shots outside the paint, but great execution on offense. Fairland was patient right there. And you see Fairland took care of the ball, ran the offense, was patient, got a great look in the paint with the senior, and Chance Short knocks it down.
Good high-low pass there from Tyler Campbell. Speaking of Chance Short there, he kind of can be a nightmare matchup because he can step outside and hit the 3 consistently. But if you put a smaller guard on him, he's going to post you up, and we see that right there. Again, the woes for South Point, another turnover. Fairland basketball. Coach Wise might want to take a timeout here and calm his kids down here in this away game and a little bit of a hostile environment maybe.
That's a good call right there. You don't want to let this thing get too out of control. You know, the old adage in coaching is you can't win the game in the first quarter, but you sure can lose it. And it's a 5-0 run right now to start the game for Fairland. And the last thing you want on the road is to let the home team get on a roll, extend a lead, and then it seems like the rest of the game you're just trying to dig out of that hole.
South Point's been very aggressive offensively, and I feel like their aggression's got them into bad spots, and they've tried to pass out of it. I'd like to see them slow down here and run a little offense.
It's a great block by number 22, Brady Rickard, that triggered that break and come down, and Chris Woodard knocks down the jumper for the Pointers to get them on the board. You get 5-2, Fairland up on top early here. 4 minutes left in the first quarter. We'll see if maybe that doesn't calm the Pointers down and get them into the flow of the game a little bit. Fairland looking to Van Horn there at the foul line, and that's a shot Colin can knock down. And again, we talked about early on Fairland needing to get Nathan Campbell going and helping out the offense, and it seems like when Nathan goes and he's flying all over the floor, it just provides an energy and a spark to the team that Fairland, quite honestly, has been lacking the last 3 or 4 outings.
I would agree with that, and with the statement that Nathan's really not a scorer, but this team kind of goes as Nathan goes. When he brings energy defensively, he's a great rebounder for his size, probably going to reach the 500 rebound mark, takes care of the basketball, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, plays hard defense, gets in the lane, makes passes like that. This team does go as Nathan goes.
Absolutely, and again, Nathan gets in the lane there, great dish, and little contact on that shot. You'd like to see Colin finish, but that's a play that a freshman maybe gets a little bit of contact and just not strong enough to finish that. I'd expect as the season wears on, he'll finish that in a not too distant future. I think you'll see him flush that for a dunk and easy 2 points. And Chance Short with great defense, gets in, picks the pocket, attacks the rim, and it looks like he's going to the line for 2.
Kind of feel like maybe he got away with a little double dribble there, Coach, but
it definitely was a little sloppy, but you're on the home court, so you get a couple calls here and there maybe.
Maybe so.
That's a key foul right there. That's foul number 2 on number 40, Cody Runyon for South Point. So we'll see how they adjust to losing him early, and it puts Coach Wise in a bind. You're looking at he probably going to set for at least the rest of the quarter, maybe the rest of the half.
Nice inbound play there by the Dragons. South Point kind of overplaying. Tyler Campbell steps to the ball, gets a wide open foul line jump shot.
We have 13. Luke Phillips checked in the ball game for Fairland, replacing Isaiah Howe. Colin cleans the board. Colin Van Horn with the board right there, and nice push by Campbell, and Chance just misses a 3-point shot.
Correction, that's Luke Thomas.
Luke Thomas, I'm sorry about that.
I think Coach Speed would like to have Luke Phillips back on the floor for his defensive purposes, but.
Absolutely, but I tell you what, you got to like this young freshman, Luke Thomas. Absolutely can light it up from anywhere on the court. As soon as he crosses half court, you know he's open.
Back inside to Van Horn. On the inline, South Point ball. Coach, I'd like to see Van Horn really work on his left hand in the offseason. I noticed he spun to his right shoulder, but instead of finishing with his left hand over his right shoulder, he went to his right hand, and that's an extremely tough shot to make.
Absolutely. Fading away, trying to go over the corner of the backboard. That's just going to come with experience, and right there you see number 22, Brady Rickard, taking the ball to the hole and drawing the foul, and no, they did not give him the bucket. So South Point will take it out underneath. Great take right there, way to play physical. Good move by Brady, and a fantastic inbounds play by South Point.
Looked like Gunner Short maybe got caught overplaying a little bit. And the back cut.
On the break, Gunner Short pulls up for the 3, and here's one of those things you talked about early, Coach Auld, about being patient in the offense, looking for good shots, and you've seen Fairland come down, take a couple quick threes, couple bad shots. South Point attacking the rim, and next thing you know, it's 9-8, and they're right back in the ball game here.
I will say, we talked about South Point calming down. their aggression. They've been very aggressive to the rim, and it's helped them here the last couple of possessions, turning defense into offense, attacking, getting in the lane. Whereas earlier, I felt like they got themselves in some bad spots. So maybe they're making some adjustments, making sure they're keeping their head up as they dribble in the lane, not dribbling into traffic.
Great point. Great point. We'll see what Fairland's going to do here. 37 seconds again. Nathan Campbell attacking the rim. And I tell you what, with this lineup, you have Chance Short out there, Luke Thomas, Gunnar Short. Those are three great shooters with Colin Van Horn in the paint. If Nathan can continue to get in the paint and continue to dribble penetrate, he's going to be able to kick it to those shooters, and they're going to have some great looks here.
I'll tell you, Rickard really had great defense there. You get so frustrated as a coach when a kid plays great defense and he bails the offensive player out by swatting at the basketball. He came down, fouled. If he just would have stayed straight up, I don't know if Nathan really could have shot that over top, really kind of bailed him out.
Absolutely, and for Fairland, you'd like to see Nathan maybe pull up and take a short jumper instead of trying to get all the way to the rim. But absolutely, it's frustrating to a coach. You teach a kid to play great defense, and he does all the things he should do. Then right at the last second, as soon as you see those hands go down kind of swatting at the ball, it's going to get called every time. See if South Point holds for one shot here. 15 seconds left in the first quarter. Fairland winning 10-8. The kick to number 23, and the three-pointer is good by Alex Witt. Fairland pushes, last shot, no good.
Fairland up early in the game, up 5-0, but South Point again staying aggressive, going to the basket, hit a three there at the end of the quarter. They take a 1-point lead. Coach, what was your impressions in the first quarter there of Fairland and South Point?
You know, just sitting and watching kind of seemed like Fairland dominated the majority of the action, but finds themselves down one at the end of the first quarter. So Coach Wise for South Point has to be encouraged by that he kind of weathered a storm early. Kids were patient and came back. I think South Point wants to continue to attack the rim like they did at the end of the first quarter there. Attack the rim and then look for those kicks. And for Fairland, you get back to the basics. You pointed out early on, Coach Alt, and you want to be patient on offense, take care of the basketball. It seems like Fairland's rushed themselves a little bit there towards the end of the quarter.
I think South Point needs to continue to be aggressive to the rim. They didn't seem to be intimidated by the shot blockers. Got Van Horn a foul early. Let's see if they continue to stay aggressive. Fairland inbounding the ball here second quarter.
That's a good point. We do want to point out, congratulate Coach Alt, Coach Buchanan, Fairland girls basketball team. A couple big wins this week, including win number 100 for Coach Buchanan earlier, and then win number 101 last night at Oak Hill. Just a great win for the program. Anytime you can go to Oak Hill and win a ball game, that's huge. So we want to congratulate you guys, doing a fantastic job once again with the girls program at Fairland, and looking for some prosperity come tournament time here.
Well, we appreciate that, and it's like Coach Buchanan said the other day. He told the girls, we've put a couple impressive banners up the past couple years for girls basketball, but Oak Hill has a whole lot more than we do, and we want to be there someday. And so you're right. Anytime you can go to Oak Hill and get a win, it's a good win.
A nice jumper there by number 50, Ryan Gibson, stepping into the pass and knocking it down from the top of the key. South Point really starting to settle into this game and kind of asserting themselves offensively. They're getting a lot of great looks. Fairland is going to have to step it up on the defensive end and get themselves back into it.
Travel by number 13, Luke Thomas. Talking with a lot of these coaches on the staff, Coach Speed, and some of the coaches in our district, they speak very highly of a lot of these freshmen, and Luke being one of them. We've seen Luke play. We've played games with Luke, pickup games, and you talked about his shooting ability. We know that he's capable of more than that. He hasn't quite shown it yet in this stage at this place. I'm still waiting for that game for him where he kind of comes out and kind of shows that he's more than just a shooter.
Yeah, you're hoping that that will come for him sooner than later. You want to see, you want to see him have that game. He's a great kid, works extremely hard in the gym. So, anytime you have kids like that are hard workers and do everything you ask them, you want to see him have that prosperity, and it'll come for him. We've talked quite often with Coach Speed that you just got to be patient with it. When you have a young team, you be patient. This time of the year is extremely tough on freshmen because they're not used to a long varsity season like this, and they tend to hit a little bit of a wall. And right towards the end of the season, they'll get their second win and come back strong. And Fairland's won 2 in a row coming in tonight, so maybe they're starting to hit their stride a little bit going into tournament time. Colin Van Horn back into the game for the Dragons. And immediately right there, he challenges that shot, and just his length is impressive, the way he can defend out on the perimeter for a big man.
I'll tell you, I've really been impressed with the Rickard kid from South Point. He's really been active. Offensive rebound there on that last possession. He's right there, great closeout. That's a great shot by Isaiah Howe. He's been very active defensively. He's really been trying to protect the rim. He's really out there working hard. He's one of those kids that every coach wants on their team because he just does the things that nobody else wants to do.
Absolutely. And you see that on the Fairland side right here. Tyler Campbell's also one of those type of players. That shot may have been challenged a little bit more than what we like, but Tyler's had an incredible season here for a kid that's playing with an injury. Saturday, 20 points, 20 rebounds. And he's that type of kid for Fairland. He comes in, does a lot of the dirty work. He plays hard, rebounds, does what Coach Speed asks of him. And those type of kids in your program are invaluable.
5:40 here left in the second quarter, tied 13-13. South Point with the basketball. Fairland playing man.
And there's your guy again, number 22, Brady Rickard. And I tell you what, he makes a nice move to get open. Shot doesn't fall, but he immediately goes right back in there, tries to make something happen on the offensive boards. He's playing a phenomenal game so far for the Pointers.
Kind of what we talked about earlier, Coach. I felt like defensively, maybe Van Horn had him, but I felt like Rickard maybe was in not bad defensive position, but anytime that official sees that hand motion go down, they're going to call that foul.
Absolutely, and that's a huge foul right there. That is Brady's second foul, and we'll see how costly that proves to be for the Pointers. There's 5 minutes, 23 seconds left in the first half, and the way he's playing right now and his defensive effort on Colin Van Horn, South Point really can't afford to take him out of the game, and looks like Coach Wise is going to try to leave him in for a few more minutes, see if he can get some minutes out of him without picking up that third foul here before halftime. Van Horn 1 for 2 at the line. Fairland on top, 14-13. 5 minutes, 15 seconds left in the second quarter here.
South Point seemed to be much more patient this quarter. Great take by number 11, Stephen Wagner. Kind of lost possession of the ball, kind of stumbled a little bit, but still athletic enough to kind of gather the ball and make a great play.
Luke Thomas with the assist, drops it into Colin Van Horn, and that's just a great move right there. Coach, you talked about earlier, Colin working on that second move, working on a secondary move. Right there he gives a little head fake and comes back to his left, little hook shot. And tell you what, if he can develop that shot from the block, that's going to be tough to defend.
Well, he has great length. He is 6'5", very long arms. A little baby jump hook. It's very hard to defend, even if he would happen to face somebody 2-3 inches taller than him. They're probably not going to be able to block that shot unless they're just a crazy good athlete. So that definitely is something you want to see your 6'5" freshman work on, is just a nice soft jump hook around the rim.
Absolutely, and you'd like to see him pair that up with something where he can, go to the middle like you were talking about, going to his left hand a little bit around the rim, and then develop that up and under move. Just learn to pair 2-3 moves together. And we talk about these things, but we're talking about a freshman, and those things will come. It's one of those things that Coach Speed has talked about over and over, just trying to be patient with these kids and teach them and bring them along. And this is one of those teams that you are fearful of in tournament time because freshmen don't realize the situation sometimes. They'll beat teams that they shouldn't beat and maybe lose some games along the way they shouldn't. But I was lucky enough to be a part of something like that. I had a group of freshmen that were just phenomenal basketball players, and Cole Hatfield, Michael Lamb, Ethan Long, Zach Jordan, some of those guys, Tyler Gobby, just some incredible players. And we had started out 10-5 that season, lost our last 5 games of the season to go to 10-10 and then make a run to the district tournament, district finals. So you just never know with the freshmen. They'll rise up to the occasion, I'm sure.
South Point sideline out of bounds. Into number 30, Elijah Adams.
Isaiah Howell defending Elijah here. We'll see what South Point's trying to run. Almost looks like they're running a version of flex offense. Thomas with the rebound. Those fouls are frustrating, Coach, that far away from the basket.
You know, it's one thing when you pick up fouls on a hustle play, but when you pick up a ticky-tack foul like that, you're not in position, you're behind the ball handler, and you just reach around and you pick up another foul. That's just not something you want to see as a coach.
Hayden James into the ballgame for the Dragons, replacing Nathan Campbell. Dragons are a little short-handed tonight. Ty Staten not suited up for the Dragons. We wish Ty well. Hope he heals up and gets back soon. We hope to see him back in uniform Friday night. But Hayden James on the floor for the Dragons to provide some depth at the point guard position.
Good take by number 33, Colin Van Horn. Again, like you talked about, maybe avoiding a little bit of contact instead of trying finishing through the contact.
Here we go. Dragons going to try to turn up the pressure a little bit with a little full court press.
Great
South
pass
Point breaks
ahead.
it down. That's great patience by South Point. The kids didn't panic. They took their time. Anytime you're going against a press, you want to try to reverse the ball, get it to the middle, and then you can look long off that, and South Point just executed to perfection. Van Horn with another take to the basket, and number 22, Brady Rickard on the defense, and I tell you what, that was awful close to him picking up his 3rd foul, but South Point picks up the bucket. Fairland with the pressure again, almost gets the turnover. Van Horn with the block at the rim. Chance Short with the rebound, leading the break. Tell you what,
kind of getting up and down right now a little bit.
Things are a little bit hectic. South Point may have gotten away with an over and back right there, but the refs let it go and attack the basket. And number 30, Elijah Adams, to the rim for 2 points. With 2:50 left in the second quarter, South Point 19, Fairland 18. Chance Short working it around the rim, trying to create something. Drops it off to Van Horn. Again, the Dragons just seem rushing right now, rushing their offense a little bit out of sorts on the offensive end.
Great defense there by number 11, Stephen Wagner. Van Horn gets the ball. He's went right-handed every time off that play. Makes the read, kind of cuts it short. Van Horn has to pick up his dribble and shoot maybe a shot he really wasn't comfortable shooting.
Isaiah Howell with the steal, leads the break, attacks the rim, kicks it to Luke Thomas. Little long rebound, Hayden James. South Point knocks the ball out of bounds. It'll be Fairland ball under the basket. Nathan Campbell checking back into the ball game for Chance Short. We'll see what the Dragons going to do out of bounds here.
I tell you, if I'm Coach Wise, I think I might be subbing for Rickard. He's really not able to do what he's done so well because he has those 2 fouls. You've got 2 minutes left. You try to weather this storm. You get him back in the third quarter. He's out of foul trouble.
That's a good point. And, you know, in the post, the pointers are in a little bit of foul trouble. Rickard has 2, and they had to sub out earlier. I believe it was Cody Runyon with 2 fouls early on in the first quarter. And so that puts them in a little bit of a bind as far as their post play. But Coach Wise sticking with Brady Rickard and hoping he can get to halftime here without picking up that third foul.
You know, you would just hate to see him pick up his third here with 1:50 left.
And that's where your depth is so key, especially at the high school level. You'd love to be able to go to your bench right here, bring in a sub, and just get this last minute 50 in the books without picking up that third foul. Ryan Gibson stepping into the line, hits 2 free throws for the Pointers. 21-18, South Point on top. Nathan Campbell with the jumper just inside the three-point line, and that's really not the shot you want as a coach. That one step inside the three-point line is probably the worst shot in basketball. You know, you want to either get behind that line and hit the three, or, you know, attack the rim, be a little bit more aggressive.
South Point seems to be giving Campbell that shot, more threatened by his driving ability than his shooting ability, and I would agree with that. But I've seen Nathan step up and knock down some big shots. So
absolutely, and you know, in the first quarter, Coach, we saw him getting in the lane, and we haven't seen that as much here in the second quarter. And I think it's something we need to watch for, you know, especially in the third quarter. See if Fairland can get him back into the paint to create some open looks for their shooters.
Good give and go there by number 50, Ryan Gibson, and number 30, Elijah Adams. You know, Coach, again, talking about young freshmen, and lots of times you play defense, your guy passes the ball, and you're kind of like, whew, you know, forgetting to jump to the ball and jam him. And, you know, Gibson passes, cuts, nobody jams him, crosses his face, gets in the lane, gets fouled, and shooting 2 foul shots.
Absolutely, and big foul right there. Colin Van Horn picking up his second foul with 50 seconds left in the second quarter, and Coach Wise goes to his bench right there, gets Brady Rickard out without picking up that third foul. Those were huge minutes right there to get him to halftime without picking up that third foul.
You know, Van Horn picking up his second really allowed Coach Wise to get Rickard off the floor. I think he was going to stick with Rickard as long as Van Horn was on the floor, not really having anybody else to guard that size, and that allowed him to get Rickard out of the game and essentially out of foul trouble.
Good point, and we have Gunnar Short and Hunter Ashton checking into the ball game for the Dragons. 40 seconds left here in the second quarter. We'll see if the Dragons are aggressive or try to hold for one shot. Inbounds to Gunnar Short, to Isaiah Howell. Isaiah looking to make something happen off the dribble there. Looks like the Dragons going a little bit of open post. They may try to hold it for one shot here. 20 seconds left in the second quarter. Great look inside. Hunter Ashton attacks the rim immediately. He'll go to the line for 2.
You know, Coach, we were talking before the game about Hunter Ashton and what a good athlete he is. He's very long. He's a great cross-country runner, great track kid, high jumps. When you're an opposing coach and here comes a kid that's not probably on your scouting report, he can really come in and make a difference in a game because you don't know what this kid can do. So let's see how this plays out with Ashton as the game goes on, and let's see how they guard him.
That's a great point, Coach Alton. He hits 1 out of 2 right there for the Dragons, and I think Hunter Ashton could be a big key for the Dragons whenever it comes to tournament play. He gives them another presence inside. He can rebound for you. Like you said, he's athletic. He can get up and down the floor with his length. He could defend all 5 positions, I believe. So just a sophomore, just another young player for Coach Speed and the Dragons, and we'll see what happens here.
7 seconds left. Dragons down 4. Thomas shoots a 3.
Isaiah Howell with the rebound and put back, and no good. And we go to halftime. South Point leading Fairland at the end of the second quarter, 23-19. Coach Old, what do you take from the first half there?
Well, I was really impressed with South Point's aggressiveness. They weren't intimidated. You know, Fairland beat South Point at South Point by 11 earlier in the year. You might come in on a road game, maybe a little timid, and they've really kind of taken it right at the teeth of of the Dragon defense, getting Van Horn in foul trouble and really being aggressive to the rim. Fairland kind of has been up and down, as you would expect with freshmen. Patient on one possession, not patient on another. There was a stretch there in the game of about 2 minutes that the ball was just going up and down the floor, kind of wreaking havoc. And I really think that pace, even though Fairland may be the deeper team, might benefit South Point. I think maybe South Point's a little more used to playing to that style, knowing that how Nathan coaches and wants to get his half-court sets in and wants to run plays and get shots and hit back cuts for layups. So we'll see how this continues. It's always fun to see how coaches make adjustments at halftime and how they try to take away what was successful for the other coach in the first half.
That's a great point. And 23-19 at halftime, obviously we're setting up for a great second half of basketball. A game tight, much like it was down at South Point. I think that's a good point. We're going to see what adjustments are made here at halftime. I don't think Coach Speed really minds Fairland getting out and running, but you want to do it under control. If it's not there to finish on the break, pull the ball out, get into your half-court set, and be patient. We've talked about that over and over throughout the first half. Early on, you saw South Point 5 or 6 straight turnovers to start the game. They fall behind 5 or 6 points. Fairland a little bit more sloppy in the second quarter. Turnovers, couple quick shots, not really bad shots, just quicker than what you'd like to see in your offensive set, and allow South Point to get up by 4 here at halftime.
Well, we're going to take a short break here at the Carl York Center. We'll be back for the second half of action here in just a couple minutes. Welcome back here to the Carl York Center in Proctorville, Ohio for the second half of this Ohio Valley Conference matchup between the South Point Pointers and the Fairland Dragons. Looks like possession will go to the Pointers here in the second half.
I tell you what, the first 2 or 3 minutes of this third quarter are going to be huge for both teams. You'd like to see a little bit more intensity on both sides. It kind of seems like both teams going through the motions a little bit. So whoever can come out here and kind of establish themselves early in third quarter, I think could be big. And right there's a turnover right off the bat.
You know, we talked early in the game about the sectional draw. Both these teams maybe, you know, disgruntled that they would need a lot of help from some other teams to win the conference. But young kids don't always look to the future. They don't understand how important this game would be for the sectional matchup. Both these teams in the same section, so you're talking about maybe playing a 3 seed as opposed to a 6 seed, you know, because of this game. So
I tell you what, Fairland, good execution on the inbounds. Tyler Campbell can't get the shot up. He dishes to Colin Van Horn for a little 14-foot jumper. Can't get it. Isaiah Howe gets the rebound, tries to go back up, and who's there to contest the shot and get the ball back for South Point? Number 22, Brady Rickard, playing a heck of a ball game for the Pointers.
You know, again, he just does a lot of things that they're just not going to show up on a stat book somewhere.
There's a double dribble, and kind of a mirror image of the first quarter. South Point starts out 2 turnovers, first 2 possessions. They dodged the bullet on the first one. Fairland couldn't capitalize and close the gap a little bit. We'll see what Fairland does here, second possession of the third quarter. Dangerous pass there for the Dragons. A little bit, the passing lane's just a little too long. We'll see if Fairland resets and gets back into an offensive set here.
Looks like maybe they're trying to get short on the block.
Hey, you know, a good coaching move, and that's one of those adjustments you talked about at halftime. Oh, huge shot by Nathan Campbell, 3-pointer, pulls the Dragons within 1. But you were talking about adjustments right before half, Coach, and right there you saw one. Coach Speed immediately trying to get Chance Short down on a block, maybe a little bit of a size mismatch, and try to get him a quick, easy bucket.
Campbell with a big shot. Again, they're kind of playing off. The scouting report probably reads, you know, Good ball handler, strong to the basket, play off of him, let him shoot. He's hit 2 shots, one in the first half, one here. So how long do you let somebody like Nathan, not known for their shooting ability, how long do you let them keep shooting until you have to pull up and take that chance and guard that perimeter on it?
Well, you know, they've always said in boxing, you've always got a game plan until somebody punches you in the mouth. And the game plan was we're going to try to keep Nathan out of the lane for South Point. But now, like you said, he's hit a couple shots and he gets on a roll, and he's capable of knocking that shot down. And the next 24 hours for Nathan Campbell are going to be big. You know, game tonight, he's playing well right now, and tomorrow he's going to sign with Davidson College to play Division I football. So a big day for Nathan tomorrow. We're extremely happy for him and congratulate him on that wonderful accomplishment. But you know, that's been a lot of pressure on Nathan trying to get that settled, and maybe that's affected his play a little bit in the early part of the season. And now that that's settled, we'll see if he doesn't take off and really start putting this team on his back a little bit.
One of those silly fouls we talked about early on Howe. Again, not really in position, kind of behind the ball handler, reaches around, picks up a silly foul.
South Point brings it in. Number 11, Stephen Wagner at the top of the key with the ball, looking to dribble penetrate. Ball's loose. Rickard picks it up, can't convert it. Offensive rebound for the Pointers. And that's something that can really kill you. You're trying to get back in the game. You get a defensive stop and you give up that offensive board, and that just can kill your momentum.
Rebound by Chance Short, brings the ball down the court.
There's what we were talking about, that controlled break right there. Chance Short looked to push the ball, saw that he didn't have anything, pulled it out, got the Dragons into a secondary breakthrough offense, results in good things. Dragons take their first lead of the second half.
Fairland in man here.
Great take to the basket by number 10, Chris Woodard for the Pointers. 25-24 South Point, 5:25 left in the third quarter.
Great take by number 1, Chance Short. Game kind of getting up and down again. Neither team were very successful in the first half when they were getting up and down the floor. A lot of turnovers, sloppy, but it seems like here we've got a couple of successful buckets for the Dragons.
Another defensive rebound for Chance Short. Tries to hit the outlet pass. Picked off by number 11, Stephen Wagner. The Pointers back in transition. See if they can capitalize on the Fairland turnover right there. As a coach, you talk a lot of times, kids have great thoughts and just can't quite pull it off or execute it. And you see what Chance saw there. He had a guy breaking, trying to get the ball ahead for an easy bucket, and South Point just made a great play on the ball right there.
You know, when you got a 6'6" kid like that running the floor, I know you teach bounce pass, but throw it up and let him go get it.
Absolutely, good point. Rebound, Tyler Campbell, and South Point coming out in the second half, not shooting extremely well, a little cold, couple turnovers. Fairland with the 26-25 lead. Van Horn inside in the bucket. If that foul's on Rickard, that's going to be huge.
Water foul 22, Brady Rickard, his third.
Foul is on Rickard. That's his third foul. 4:22 left in the third quarter. We'll see if Coach Wise sticks with Rickard here. If Van Horn can pull off this three-point play the old-fashioned way, you know, Fairland has come out. We talked about wanting to start the half quickly, have a good first couple minutes, and Fairland will have done that. 29-25, Fairland has erased the halftime deficit and started to extend the lead here a little bit.
I believe they're on a 10-2 run, if my math is correct.
There's Campbell again.
Campbell.
The controlled break we talked about again. He pulled up, almost turned it over. Great play by Luke Thomas to keep the ball alive for the Dragons. Finds Van Horn inside. South Point may have got away with a little extra contact right there. But I tell you what, on the break coming back, number 50, Ryan Gibson. Outstanding look in the fast break. Right there, we talked about Van Horn going up strong, trying to finish. he finishes. We just hope the young man's okay. Hard fall right there, grabs his arm.
You know, you hate to see that. We talked about him really going and absorbing that contact, and I really, for the first time, felt like he really attacked the defender, and unfortunately seems to have fallen on his arm. Hopefully it's just a minor injury, and Colin will be okay.
Tell you what, that was a great move by Van Horn. He attacked the rim right there, and that's what we were talking about earlier as a freshman. As you go through the season, Colin's up. Looks like he's going to be okay, coming off the court under his own power. The Dragons will have to sub here. The sub will shoot the free throws, or Coach Speed has the option of taking a timeout, and he could leave Van Horn in. But looks like Tyler Campbell checking into the ball game. Campbell will shoot the free throws for the Dragons.
Campbell, a good foul shooter also.
But back to Colin right there. You know, we've talked about as the season goes along, as he matures and he gets older going through high school, he'll learn how to finish at the rim, take that hit, and go up strong. And I tell you what, right there was just an impressive finish for that young man. Campbell a little short on the free throw. The Dragons winning 31-27, 3:33 left in the third quarter.
Little cross screen for Pritchard. Foul on the floor by number 32, Tyler Campbell. Out of bounds under the basket, South Point.
And people may think that that's a ticky-tack call right there, but that's been a point of emphasis all year in high school basketball, that you cannot put your hands on the other team, especially you go two hands or a forearm in the back. So we've seen that call a lot this year in high school basketball, and it's called right there. Fairland challenges the shot. Luke Thomas leading the break. Again, being patient in the offense, pulls it out, looking to get into a secondary set, into the half-court set. Campbell looks inside, and South Point with the half-court defense gets the ball right back.
You know, back to your point, we've been told this year by many officials that if you place two hands as a defender on the offensive person, it's an automatic foul, no questions asked.
And that foul actually is on Tyler Campbell from behind. Isaiah Howe picks the ball clean, but they call the foul on Tyler Campbell from behind. That's his third foul. That's a huge foul right here. With Colin Van Horn on the bench, you don't know what kind of condition he's in right now. Campbell with 3 fouls. We're going to see what Coach Speed does here going to the bench.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the fans didn't like the call, and I don't agree with the call in that I feel like Isaiah got him across the arm and not Tyler.
Van Horn back into the ballgame, so that's a good sign for the Dragons. And you're not for sure what the call was there. Maybe there was some push, contact from behind. We just talked about that being a point of emphasis. We couldn't see it from our vantage point, but the referee obviously a lot closer than we are. Nathan Campbell pushing the ball in the break. Again, controlled in the half court. Van Horn up, fouled. He's going to go to the line for 2.
That's on Pritchard. That's 4 on Pritchard with 2:46 left here in the third.
Foul on Elijah Adams. Number 30, Elijah Adams, that's his first, and the Pointers get a good break right there. Coach Wise out to talk to the official at half court about the call.
Van Horn makes the first one. We'll line up for the second one. Gets the roll.
At some point here, we're looking 33-29, 2:42 left in the third. I wouldn't be surprised to see Coach Speed throw some token pressure on, even if they don't look for traps or turnovers, just to make South Point execute a little bit in their full court. And there's your man, number 22, Brady Rickard, another big play in the paint for the Pointers.
You know, again, he's not flashy. Number 50, Gibson beats his man off the dribble, tries to make a behind-the-head pass. Ball rolls around the floor. Who comes out with it? Pritchard finishes, and the foul. And
he has 3 the old-fashioned way. 33-32 Dragons, 2:24 left in the third quarter. We'll see if Fairland can answer the three-point play by South Point. Van Horn, I tell you what, since he got hit on that break and finished, he looks like a different player out here right now. That is an aggressive take to the rim. And he just picked up foul number 4 on Brady Rickard for South Point. That is a big call. Coach Wise not going to have a choice. He's going to have to go to the bench and get Rickard out. Van Horn hits the first of 2. And right now, Van Horn at the line hitting shots, and that's something that has kind of been an Achilles heel for Fairland this year, foul line. And right now they're performing at the line. And I don't jinx him, that's a good sign.
Awfully soft touch for a 6'6" kid. You know, you don't see a lot of kids get a lot of rolls like that.
Here's the pressure we just talked about. We thought it might be coming soon. Just kind of felt like it was in the cards. And off that free throw, Coach Speed goes to the press, and Nathan Campbell with a quick deflection out of bounds. And South Point takes a timeout, I think, to address that press. We'll see if Coach Speed pulls it off here.
You know, Fairland's been very successful this year, kind of with that off and on pressure, kind of catching teams by surprise. Lots of teams will get in the habit of just bucket goes in, run back down the floor, set it for half court, and Fairland will be in their press and not really ready for that. And I think Coach Wise calling the timeout, making sure he gets everybody on the same page, make sure that doesn't happen.
That's a good move on his part. Calm his troops down. Coach Speed leaves the press on, so we'll see what adjustments South Point made during the timeout and see how they try to attack this press for Fairland. There's one way to do it. Whoever Nathan Campbell's guarding, run him out so Nathan's not up top creating havoc for your ball handlers. South Point in a motion offense, Fairland in man-to-man. And Chance Short with a great defensive play, comes in, gets the deflection, pushes ahead. Now here you go, Fairland calmly backs it out. Chance Short pulls up for 3, and that's a great look for Chance. Just a great job of getting into your break. You fumble the ball a little bit, you don't have anything, you pull it out and be patient. Great job by the Dragons.
Howell taking a chance, kind of get himself out of position. He doesn't get the steal. It turns into a 2-on-1 the other way. South Point going to the line.
I tell you what, Fairland's Isaiah Howell just missed getting a turnover right around midcourt. He went for the steal on the pass, didn't quite get it, and that led to the 3-on-1 break. I tell you what, we're going to look back at that play with 1:35 here, and that's a pivotal point right there. If Howell gets that steal and Fairland puts it in, you're looking at a 40-32 lead. He doesn't, 3-on-1 break coming back the other way. If South Point converts his second free throw, and they do, you go from a potential 8-point lead to a 4-point lead. Let's remember that mark, 1:35 in the third quarter, and we'll see if that plays a big key in the outcome of this game. Right back into the big man, Luke Thomas. Luke Thomas recognizing that Colin Van Horn is playing at a different level right now, gets the ball inside, and Van Horn finishes at the rim. Great answer by the Dragons right there. With
Rickard in the game, it's going to be really tough for South Point to guard Van Horn in the post.
That's, I tell you what, great recognition by the Dragons. Luke Thomas, Coach Speed, they know Rickard's out of the game, immediately go to the post and get Van Horn the ball on the block. Just a great coaching move.
Good take by number 23, Alex Witt.
South Point's broken the press easily a couple times here, but I tell you what, South Point's transition defense coming back has been a little slow getting back, and it's allowed Fairland to isolate Van Horn down on the block the last 2 possessions, and he's going to go right back to the line. Coach Wise got to be careful here. He's out at half court contesting that call.
Looks like they called it on the floor. It's going to be a 1-and-1 for Van Horn.
Well, I guess both coaches can be upset right there. Coach Wise hated the call. Coach Speed thought it was in the act of shooting. We're going to the line for 1-on-1. Van Horn misses the first, but we have a lane violation on South Point, so he's going to shoot the first one over again.
You know, going back to on the release, I've noticed a lot more lane violations this year. You basically have a whole generation that's played their entire life on the rim, and now they have to go to on the release, and their anticipation isn't quite what it is whenever they're playing for the rim. And I've noticed a sharp increase in lane violations this year.
And a costly mistake right there for the Pointers. It gets Van Horn another shot. He hits the first one, hits the second one, and you go from, the kid goes to the line. If he misses that first one, you get the ball back. Instead, he gets the ball back in his hands, hits both free throws, and that's just, that's a mistake that, as a coach, can absolutely drive you insane. 50 seconds left in the third quarter. We'll see if South Point tries to hold for one right here. They do not. They attack the rim. Backdoor cut, and number 23, Alex Witt, just can't handle the pass, and it gets away from him. 43 seconds left. Fairland could hold for the last shot here.
Looks like they're going to open set here.
Looks like South Point's going to set in a zone. Again, with Rickard out of the game, I don't think they had choice, and they turn it over here. Chance Short with the good transition defense there, pokes the ball away. 27 seconds left, South Point ball.
Down 7. This would be a big possession right here to go down 5 instead of 7 in at the end of the quarter.
Great job by Hayden James. He stands there, takes the charge, and that's just great defense by Hayden right there. You love to see that. Kids be fundamentally sound, set down, and hold their position and take that charge. Don't try to block the shot. You take the charge right there. Great move. 23 seconds here. Fairland, I guarantee, is going to come down, try to attack that zone. If South Point stays in zone, get the ball inside to Van Horn. Maybe a little inside-out game and hit a 3 here at the end of the quarter.
I tell you, on the last possession, they had Van Horn on a backside flash to the middle, but they were doubled in the corner, and it ended up being a turnover instead of an easy shot. Lob to Van Horn.
Got to finish right there. And number 50, Ryan Gibson, pulls up, banks the 3 to end the third quarter. 43-39, Dragons on top at the end of 3.
You know, Coach, he shot that with about 2.3 on the clock. That's one of those plays as a coach. When it leaves his hand, you're cussing him. And when it goes in, you run out, pat him on the back, tell him good shot.
I tell you what, you sit there and watch that transpire, and Chance Short's playing transition defense there, and everything as a coach you teach him. Protect the basket, and Chance is sprinting back, getting back to protect the basket, and you're not expecting the kid to pull up at the top of the key with 2.3 seconds left. You expect him to attack the rim.
Especially when you have a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
You had another kid that either you're going to get a layup or the backside kid's probably going to get a layup.
So you look at that, and that's a great result for South Point. Tough break for Fairland. Fairland had a 7-point lead there with the ball right before half. A great entry pass into Van Horn, and that's one that, again, we've talked about as he gets older, matures, gets stronger. You want to see him finish at the rim. Just an unfortunate sequence of events for Fairland, but what a great shot by Ryan Gibson. Good turnout for South Point, and really helped stop the bleeding. Fairland had extended the lead to 7 and was going to get the ball here to start the fourth quarter, so it was huge that South Point got that stop and bucket.
Looks like South Point's going to a 2-3 zone, maybe to try and protect Pritchard a little bit, maybe to keep him from picking up his 5th.
And Coach Wise does put Rickard back in the game to start the fourth quarter. Fairland immediately goes after him and cannot finish there. Nathan Campbell trying to get on the offensive glass and picks up his second foul. South Point's going to go to the line for 1 in the bonus.
Both teams in the bonus. Could turn out to be a long fourth quarter. Number 50, Ryan Gibson to the line to shoot the front end of a 1-on-1.
Fairland looking to go on transition here. Chance Short attacking the rim. Good take. Van Horn there for the offensive rebound. Can't finish. And Rickard ties him up on the offensive rebound. Again, Rickard right there. He's seems like he's everywhere, always around the ball. Another big play for the Pointers. Fairland coming back with the full court pressure once again. Just some token pressure, making South Point work a little bit to get it up. The court, and here they come, set up their offense. South Point attacks the rim, number 30. Elijah Adams attacks the rim. He can't convert, but right there, that was a hustle play by South Point. South Point got to the ball, a little bit more intensity for that offensive rebound, and they get the three.
Give the credit there to Wagner on that save. You know, he doesn't get the stat in the book, he doesn't get the assist, he doesn't get the bucket, but he makes the great play to the save, swing the ball wide open, 3 points.
And here we are, 6:50 left in the ball game. It's a 1-point game. The inside-out play we just talked about, Coach. Inside to Van Horn. Let the defense collapse, kick it out, look for the three. Right there, Fairland goes inside out. Gunner Short, huge three in the corner.
I think that Short's man wasn't supposed to help. The double team came from the top, and Short's man also came down. So essentially, there was three guarding Van Horn, left Short wide open.
You're looking right here. Rickard is still guarding Van Horn. Fairland's going to continue to attack that. Likewise, Van Horn's guarding Rickard, and now they're going to go after Van Horn. That's his third foul. So it's going to be an interesting chess match the rest of the way. See these two big guys play in the paint and go at each other and see where it all comes out in the end. You can just kind of feel the intensity of the ball game picking up here. 46-43, Fairland on top. Rickard makes it happen again for the Pointers. Loose ball off the long rebound on the free throw. Van Horn and Rickard going after it. The ball goes off of Colin Van Horn. South Point's ball.
Looking to post him. Kick out to Gibson. Gibson had his hesitation dribble. Back cut. Back out to number 23.
Fairland is really overplaying the passing lanes. Keep an eye on that, Coach, and see.
Offensive rebound by Rickard, but he couldn't quite convert. You have to feel like Van Horn maybe altered his shot a little bit.
Absolutely. Back to my point. Oh, great look inside. We'll see who that foul's on. Coach, point I was wanting to make, Fairland really overplaying the passing lanes. Let's look and see if South Point looks to hit some backdoor cuts. We'll see who that foul's on. Oh, my goodness. Brady Rickard picking up his fifth foul for the Pointers with 5:56 left in the fourth quarter.
You know, last time Rickard had to go to the bench, that's when Van Horn basically went on a scoring spree. So
huge loss right there for the Pointers. That's just a monumental loss for them. Not only defensively trying to guard Van Horn like you just pointed out, but just all those little hustle plays that he brings to their team. Very impressed with that young man. He's a great ball player, and you just, for South Point, you hate to see him foul out with this much time left.
You know, all that you talked about with Rickard, he also seems to be about the only post presence that they really have. They don't really look to isolate and post up too many other players. So South Point going to have to play a little small ball, as they used to call it out in Phoenix.
So with 5:56 left in the fourth quarter, Fairland's up 48-43. We'll see what the Pointers are going to try to do here. They were going inside to Rickard the last couple of possessions, and with him out of the game now, we're going to see what they're going to look for. Double high screen, and looks like Adams trying to dribble penetrate.
Let's see who this one's on.
Gunner Short hits first.
Fouls on Gunner Short, his first. Fairland and South Point both in the 1-on-1 bonus still. Next foul, both teams will be in the double bonus. Number 30, Elijah Adams, makes the front end of the 1-on-1. Official seems to be talking to a couple players, maybe a couple elbows being thrown. Adams to the line to shoot a second. Makes them both. Timeout. South Point, Coach Wise.
While we have a little break in the action here, Coach, tell us what's coming up for the Lady Dragons, where your next games are, and what it's looking like here as we get ready to head into the tournament.
Well, so let's see here. Tomorrow night, the JV will be playing at Spring Valley. Thursday, they'll be traveling to Gallipolis to play the Lady Angels, the Blue Angels of Gallipolis. And then
next Monday night is at Chesapeake at home. Every time the Panthers come to Fairland, it's always a huge game. I think that might be the Chesapeake game Monday, February 9th. So
yes,
we'd like to see a lot of Fairland supporters out to cheer on the Lady Dragons here over the next week. 3 big ball games coming up for the Lady Dragons. A lot, like we said, having a great season, a lot of success, and we want to keep that going.
You never know what's going to happen when Fairland and Chesapeake play. You throw records out the window, and the kids go and they give it all they have, and you just never know what's going to happen. So we definitely would love to see a lot of Fairland supporters there Monday.
Looks like South Point may be going to pick up full court, at least with Chance Short. I think they're going to try to deny him, almost face guarding him all the time now, trying to keep the ball out of his hands, going to try to make somebody else make a play for the Dragons to win it. And we'll see who steps up here.
They're face guarding Van Horn also.
And Nathan Campbell trying to force it into Chance, and a great defensive play by Adams. Steps out, gets a deflection. South Point ball now, 5 minutes left, and they're looking to attack the rim hard. Number 11, Stephen Wagner, hard to the rim for the finish. Fairland trying to get on a break, not there, under control, pull it out. Again, we'd like to see what the South Point's going to do here to guard against Van Horn. Luke Thomas, good look inside, great look inside.
Foul will be on number 11, Stephen Wagner, his 4th.
Now you got to be thinking about foul trouble for South Point. There's 4 minutes, 50 seconds left in the 4th quarter. And Coach, you talked about it early on in the 3rd quarter. Fouls were starting to mount up with both teams. We've talked about Fairland's depth. We're going to see it right here, I have a feeling. South Point's got a couple kids in foul trouble. Fairland has some kids in foul trouble, but they have depth that they can go to. That could be the deciding factor in this ball game.
Well, I'll be interested to see who they guard Van Horn with the next time down the floor. Number 11, Wagner, that's who they were guarding Van Horn with on this possession. He picks up his 4th. Who are they gonna put on him now?
50-47, Fairland on top. 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the 4th quarter. Big 3 at the top of the key by number 50, Ryan Gibson. Big time shot right there for the Pointers. Gibson really starting to heat up. He likes it at the top of the key right there.
You know, there was never a doubt that he was shooting that basketball. Just caught it, squares up, shoots it. Again, South Point not backing down. Not backing down. They keep attacking. They keep playing hard. They're not backing down.
Again, Van Horn with a great look around the rim. You know, you want to see that finish, but with the foul always makes it difficult. I tell you, really impressed with Colin Van Horn, though. The way he has stepped up, took that hard foul earlier in the game, has bounced back, and tell you what, kid's playing a heck of a ball game right now for the Dragons. I believe that's his 27th point. 27 points for Colin Van Horn tonight. Extremely impressive out of the freshman.
And Coach, I would venture to say 10 plus of those are at the foul line. So you're talking about a kid who's converting at the foul line. A lot of times you get those big men and they have that reputation that they can't shoot, they can't make foul shots, so we'll just foul him. He's making them pay at the foul line as well.
So here we are, fourth quarter. It's 52-50. South Point's in foul trouble. Fairland's been going inside to Van Horn. South Point really hasn't had an answer, and the one guy they had that could answer is out of the ball game. So, Coach, as you're watching this, take me through, if you're Coach Wise here, what are you looking to do on the defensive end to try to mitigate Colin Van Horn a little bit?
I personally would look to double maybe off of some of these non-shooters, but Nathan, Coach Speed's kind of got quite a bit of shooters out there. Obviously, Short can shoot. We talked about how Luke Thomas can shoot. Isaiah Howe is one of those very streaky shooters. He can make 4 or 5 in a row, just boom, boom, boom. So I would still look to double team off of some of these kids and maybe try to wreak some havoc and live with the long three as opposed to Van Horn making layups and foul shots.
And Coach, I tell you what, you talked about right before half making coaching adjustments. In high school basketball, coaching adjustments are a big part of the game. Can your team perform? Can they execute what you are trying to get them to do? Fairland comes out of that timeout, goes to a zone for the first time tonight, forced South Point into a couple of three-pointers. South Point misses one. Fairland gets on the break, gets an offensive rebound, attacks the rim. So 2 straight stops, coming out of a timeout, going to a zone. So what you're talking about, Coach, what adjustments are we going to see here? And Coach Speed obviously making a couple right there and a couple great calls.
Campbell getting to the rim, kind of losing the basketball, out of bounds, South Point ball.
I wouldn't mind seeing that one on replay. Nathan attacking the rim there, and the ball gets hit. You really can't tell from our vantage point who hit that last, but the official right on top of it. South Point ball coming back again against that zone. South Point tried to penetrate. Van Horn definitely challenges a shot there. We'll see what South Point does against this zone. That's 3 straight threes. Oh, that was close. You look at a 4-point play right there, and you don't see many of those.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Coach, back to what you were talking about with coaching adjustments. Back to what you were talking about with coaching adjustments. Lots of teams, like take us, for example, Fairland, 2 or 3 times a week, coach will come up with a scenario and, we have 30 seconds, a minute, whatever, to come up with a play out of bounds under the basket, what we're going to do defensively. And he starts the clock, and the girls have to go out there and perform. We prepare for those scenarios. We want those kids to understand how to make adjustments in games. And I know a lot of programs do that, and it's something that's vital for these kids to understand and to understand game scenarios and game situations.
Coach, you talk about a lot of programs do that, but I'll add to that just a little bit. The great programs do that. You see really good coaches who are aware that you have to practice situational basketball. Kids need to be aware of situations, what to do, and the great teams do that. The great coaches do it, and you see on the court. It all pays off on the court. South Point right there hits 2 out of 3 free throws. 2 minutes, 30 seconds left in the ball game, 54-52. Fairland's 2 straight turnovers right here. Had a 54-50 lead and the ball, 2 straight turnovers. Now South Point looking to attack.
That's 4 fouls on Van Horn. On the other end, maybe an ill-advised pass by Nathan. I think maybe he threw it a little early. Didn't really let Colin get position. Kind of tried to force it in there. If he waits just another second or two, Colin's going to get his hips around. He's going to seal the defender, and it's a much easier pass.
Absolutely. We talked about earlier, kids have the right idea and just don't pull off the execution. Right idea by Nathan to get the ball inside to Colin, just didn't pull off the execution. We'll see if he doesn't come back to that. Tyler Campbell checking into the ball game. Nathan Campbell coming out. Looks like Fairland's going to go big right here. Maybe try to take advantage of their size inside once again.
Great take by number 23, Alex Witt. He drove it straight at Van Horn, knowing he's a shot blocker, gets into the body of Van Horn, and draws the foul.
And that's 3 straight turnovers for the Dragons. The second half has really mirrored the first half. South Point started both halves with a bunch of turnovers and sloppy play, only to come back and Fairland having sloppy play at the end of the halves. And we just, we've seen it again here in the second half. South Point turnovers to start the third, as we progress through the half. Fairland turning the ball over, not making real great decisions.
Great pass by number Luke Thomas, number 13.
Number 13.
Tyler Campbell, number 32, just wasn't ready for it. Great pass again by number 13. Luke Thomas inside to Colin Van Horn. Waits, lets him get position, lets him get his hips around, and passes it. Easy 2 points for the Dragons.
I tell you what, South Point's not afraid to put up the three, and they can hit it. Timeout, South Point. 1:47 left in the fourth quarter. Fairland 56, South Point 55. I think that might force Coach Speed out of the zone right there. Anytime you can get inside out against the zone, or you can skip the ball against the zone, you're going to get those open looks. It's a matter of knocking them down, and South Point's hit a couple here. So here we are, 1 point ball game in the fourth quarter. We're coming down to the wire. Fairland continually trying to get it inside to Van Horn, and South Point doing a great job of countering, hitting the three ball, attacking the rim. So strategy-wise for Fairland, you continue to try to go into Van Horn, but you really want to watch. We've seen it once already. Gunner Short hitting the three in the corner. If South Point starts collapsing on Van Horn, watch for that kick out, and you may see a big three. You were talking about Luke Thomas earlier in the game and waiting for him to have that big moment in a game, and this game's kind of shaping up. Somebody's going to be a hero tonight and hit a big shot to seal a win.
Something that both teams need to keep in mind. Both teams are in the double bonus, so if you can take care of the basketball, you're almost going to force the hand of the other team to foul. Looks like that's what Fairland may be doing. Going to be very patient, take care of the basketball, spread the defense. Short takes it to the rim.
Great take by Chance Short right there. Senior leadership. Coach Speed, while he's got three freshmen on the floor, he's a wise coach. He's been through a lot of battles. Who does he go to? Get the ball in the hands of your senior. Let him make a play for you. 1 minute left, 58-55. Fairland on top. South Point looking to attack. Another big play. 32, Tyler Campbell with the block from behind. A senior stepping up for the Dragons, and that's great to see. These freshmen have gotten a lot of publicity, got a lot of play, and people talk about their talent level, and they are good, but it's good to see the seniors stepping up right here.
You know, Thomas really funneled the play to Van Horn, and Van Horn altered his shot, but at this point that's a risky play because Van Horn has his fourth foul. South Point fouls 80 feet away from the basket, sends Isaiah Howe to the line to shoot two.
I tell you what, Coach, you talked about earlier, post defense, just not slapping down at the ball, and that was a perfect example. If anyone is watching this game and taping it, and you have a young player at home, show them that sequence right there. Van Horn playing post defense, his hands are straight up in the air, and he let them try to shoot the ball over top of him. He didn't slap at it, he stayed straight up, and no call. So perfect post defense by Van Horn. Fairland ends up getting the defensive rebound. South Point forced a foul. 59-55, 45 seconds left in the game.
That was a big foul shot. It makes it a two-possession game now. Regardless of what South Point does on this possession, they would have to score twice.
And great job by the freshman stepping up, hitting two free throws. Fairland going to stick with the zone, going big with Tyler Campbell, Colin Van Horn. Tyler doing a good job trying to defend out on the perimeter, and a little too aggressive. Part of that, I think, Coach, really you contribute that to his knee injury. He's down in a stance, really playing good defense, and just loses a little bit of balance there. Bumps into the guy who's going to go to the line for two now. Alex Witt hits the first for the Pointers, and this free throw's big. He needs to hit this one to get it back to a one-score game.
Something Fairland might want to keep in mind, if they don't score on this possession, you might want to just go ahead and foul to get the ball back, because then South Point can only shoot two foul shots, but it doesn't matter because Witt misses the second one.
Luke Thomas with the ball. He gets it out of the trap, gets it up the court to Chance Short. Isaiah Howe trapped at half court. South Point with the foul on the reach. Isaiah Howe will go to the line to shoot 2.
Water foul 10, Chris Woodard is second.
21.6 seconds left. Howe to the line to shoot 2. South Point down 4. They do have 1 timeout remaining.
Howe hits the first. And I tell you what, I really like what I'm seeing out of this Fairland team as far as the kids coming together. Coach Speed's played a lot of different combinations, has had a lot of different kids on the court, and it really seems like they're starting to gel a little bit. This game got tight. It could have gone either way, and you're seeing them make plays down the stretch, and that's big going into tournament.
You know, something that, you know, you hear all the talk about the freshmen, but something this team does have is senior leadership. They have 3 battle-tested seniors on this team that can really help these freshmen progress. Great play there by the Pointers, number 11, Stephen Wagner with the 2. That brings it back to a 4-point ball game.
You know, and that's a wise move by South Point, no pun intended with Coach Wise, but you're down 62-56, and a lot of people will think, you know, I got to come down and hit the 3 to try to get back to 1 score. But when you start taking those 3s out of control, very rarely do you hit them. You end up giving up a rebound, and then you're fouling, and it really seals your own fate. Getting that quick 2, getting the timeout. Now you can set up your press, maybe get a quick turnover, another quick 2, and next thing you know, 62-60. And you're right there. You're back in the ball game. So I think that was a great move by South Point, going for the quick 2. Even though you're down 4, it gives you a chance to set up your defense.
South Point with no timeouts left, and that's pretty crucial. Ball into Short, foul. 14.1 left on the clock. Senior Chance Short to go to the line to shoot 2.
And right there you have the game on the line. It's 62-58. There's under 15 seconds left, and Coach Speed has a freshman, Luke Thomas, taking the ball out of bounds. You know, that obviously shows how much he trusts him to make good decisions, and not to mention it frees up your senior Chance Short to break loose, get the inbounds pass, and now they're forced to foul one of your seniors, and that's who you want on the line right now is Chance Short. You want your senior there. Hayden James checking into the ball game for the Dragons for Tyler Campbell. Again, probably a little bit of defense pressure. I wouldn't be surprised to see Fairland extend a little bit, maybe 3/4 court, so South Point can't roll the ball down, make them pick it up early and use some time.
I think they're going to maybe secede a 2 here and just not give up a 3. Maybe not.
South Point, you don't have to bring it in. Under 5 seconds, don't even bring the ball inbounds. Luke Thomas grabs it, goes out of bounds, and holds it. And a great decision right there to just get the ball out of bounds. Once you're under 5 seconds, the other team doesn't have timeout. You don't got to bring it in. So good move there by Luke Thomas, a smart play. And that brings us to the conclusion of the game. Final score, Fairland 64, South Point 60. Coach, your thoughts as we wrap it up here?
I felt like the determining factor was Richards getting in foul trouble, allowing Van Horn to really take control in that 3rd quarter, and then picking up that 5th foul early in the 4th. That really left South Point vulnerable in the post. Fairland did a good job of taking advantage of that, but again, South Point's just never back down. They continue to battle all the way to the very end. Very impressed with the mentality that South Point brought tonight, that they're not going to back down and they're going to be the aggressors and take it to the rim. Absolutely, and you pointed that out. Rickard fouled out with 5:56 left in the 4th. It was a 46-43 ball game when he fouled out. 3-point ball game. Fairland ends up winning by 4. So, you know, from that point on, South Point kind of treaded water. Fairland extended the lead, kind of got out, 7-point lead there at one point after Rickard had fouled out. And once South Point was in that hole, they were constantly trying to fight to get back out of it. So, you know, obviously that was huge. Once he fouled out, South Point just didn't have an answer inside for Colin Van Horn after that point, and
and Fairland gets the big victory tonight, continues their momentum. That's 3 in a row for the Dragons, and if you're Coach Speed, there are obviously some things you want to work on and improve on as you move forward. Fairland didn't play their best game, but they fought, they battled, and they got the W, and 3 wins in a row this time of year is always a good thing heading into tournament play.
Well, again, the Dragons get the win, 64-60 here at the Carl York Center. I'm Adam Alt for Coach Chad Belleville. Take care and have a good evening.